This is the Lagavulin 16-year-old, and it does not suffer fools gladly. From the Lagavulin distillery up there on the island of Islay, obviously one of the Islay malts. To give you an idea of its intensity, if we were to compare it to, say, an aircraft, your average Speyside would be something like a Piper Cub, maybe even a twin-engine Cessna. This is an A-10 with a full weapons loadout and a pissed-off pilot with a convoy of ISIS to play with. It's one of the big boys, and well, the Islay malts are very, very powerful whiskies. Lots of peat and smoky iodine notes, which gives it almost a medicinal. In fact, the first sip I ever had of Lagavulin, we have an antiseptic, a personal antiseptic over here in the UK, I don't know if you get it in the States or in Europe, called TCP, which has a very, very, very distinctive smell and taste, because you can gargle with it if you have a sore throat and you put it on cuts and grazes and whatnot. And my first sip of Lagavulin was exactly like taking a sip of TCP, and as a result I was a little bit taken aback, I suppose disappointed. I was like, oh, I've heard so many wonderful things about this nectar, and it just tastes like antiseptic. But after my taste buds had acclimatised, by the last sip I was in whisky heaven and have remained there ever since. And when my sister-in-law was across just in October there from Massachusetts, her and her husband, and we were obviously showing them around the place, as a little thank you gift they gave me a little bottle, sort of like a half bottle of said Lagavulin, which I am now gingerly working my way. It's getting scarily close to the bottom of the bottle, but I will savour every single taste, every single drop. So yeah, where have I been? Some of you have been asking. Well, I've been right here. Well, not always, because we went to the States, and every time I've kind of said, right, I'm going to make a video, life has gotten in the way, or I've been sidetracked, or I've been distracted. And generally I'm not the kind of person who's easily just, oh, there's a squirrel, distracted. But what was it John Lennon said, blah blah blah, life is what happens when you're making other plans, or plans are what happens when you're trying to live life, or something along those lines. And it just never ever got around to doing it, and as a result more and more things have happened in my modelling life, so this is going to be one hell of an update, I'm afraid. You may want to have the pause button and go and get yourself a Lagavulin. Go on. Well, as I say, test it first, just in case. So yeah, we went across to the States, my wife and I, to go visit to attend our niece's wedding up in Portland, Maine, Peaks Island to be exact. And then we came back down to Rhode Island to spend the rest of the time with my father-in-law, her father. And as is usual, when I go abroad, I always like to bring back a model kit from somewhere. And there's fewer and fewer and fewer hobby shops to choose from. But we did find the Hobby Lobby in Newport, Rhode Island, which catered more for non-aircraft modelers. A lot of war games, a lot of remote control, some trains, railroads. But I did manage to pick up this, which was I wasn't scraping the bottom of the barrel, but I wouldn't have normally chosen this, but I had to bring something back, so I brought this back, which was the Special Hobby 1/72 PR Spitfire, the pink one. So anyway, that was one other thing that I did. And after that, as I say, my sister-in-law came across the following week, and then I had my week off, but I had to build some stuff for Annie's theatre production, which I was in. I had 5 lines at the very end of the play, and in a review that was written up, my performance was described as a finishing splurge of quality over quantity. I am a finishing splurge. Then it was back to work and preparations for Telford, which obviously means this little chap sitting on the bench here. The 1/48 scale Kinetic Hobby, is it Kinetic Hobby? Is that the name? Or is it just kinetic? Gos Hawk, the T45 Gos Hawk is finally more or less 99.9% plus or minus thereabouts, kind of sort of finished. Boy, that was a fun ride. Those of you that follow me on Facebook, and I'm sure I've mentioned it a few times on previous videos, this trainer was a fighter in every respect, but I also respect it for that. But my goodness me, that was a trial, to say the least. But we got there in the end, and am I happy with it? Given what I had to go through to get it to this stage, I actually am quite happy with it. It ain't perfect, not by a long shot. This would never stand any muster in a competition or anything. No, oh goodness me, no. But as I say, I know what the journey involved, so the destination, yeah, I'm more than happy with it. As I say, it could be a lot better, but anyway, I've just seen something that I need to do. That came out of the blue, didn't it? There's been a heavy mist and rain hanging over the UK for the past few days, so I could barely see the bottom of the garden, never mind anything flying overhead. The occasional, now that the RAF Lookers is owned by the Army, they still have a couple of typhoons on constant readiness, which have been, normally the rule is that when the RAF were stationed there, they weren't supposed to fly over the village. I mean, we're about 2 miles as the crow flies from Lookers, and they would either fly up over the fields there, or they would do that thing where they circle over the fields over there. Now that the RAF are out, as I say, except for these 2 typhoons, yeah, when they've been going to intercept these Russian bears, they've just been getting up and getting in there and just straight over the village, after burners and everything. It rearranges the furniture, it's great. But where was it before? We were so rudely interrupted by the RAF. Tonkas still come in, tornadoes. There's a tornado comes in and does the whole touch and go thing every now and again. I haven't seen any army transports, I haven't seen any Chinooks or C-130s or anything like that, but anyway. So yeah, it's oh yeah, that's what I was saying, I have to do the compression cylinders on the oleos. I haven't painted them silver, they're still white. No weathering whatsoever on this, because every picture I've seen of T45s, they have been pristine. I didn't even try and scale the white, it's just Tamiya X, was it X1? X2, Tamiya X2 gloss white. And because I had quite a bit of success with the Hasegawa submarine, the submersible, the Shinkai 6500, which was lots of light, heavily thinned coats just slowly built up and created a nice realistic gloss finish. I tried the same thing on this, which more or less worked, but when you've got these right angles and curves, and my inexperience with painting gloss paints, I think obviously what's happening is the paint's coming down, it's bouncing off the wing, hitting the fuselage, getting caught by more paint that's coming down, and you end up getting that gritty look to the paint and feel. So on many occasions I was having to sand that back, respray, sand it back, and also to try and get the effect that I was wanting, which wasn't a perfectly smooth gloss finish like airliner modelers would do, or people who model cars where they want that lovely even sheen. I didn't want that, because if you look at pictures of aircraft, the metal isn't perfectly flat and you get that slight ripple. The stress skin effect, not where it curves down into the rivet areas or the rivet points of the panel lines, but just that general ripply effect. And you can get that by spraying wet, which is what you generally have to do with gloss anyway. Spray it wet so that you're not misting it on, you're literally creating a little pool of paint, but it's that you have to be careful. You just stop at the point where it's about to start, getting the pooling into sort of, or lagging or whatever, and just getting that balance right on a multi-surface aircraft was actually quite a test for me. So that thing's had about 15 coats of white, and of course when it came to the flame red, which I had to make myself, no matter how well you think you've masked, especially when you're painting such a prominent colour over a base colour like white, there's always some area that the paint seems to get through. So there was touch-ups here and there and whatnot. But we eventually got, it also made it easier for putting the decals on as well. That was one of the ideas I was thinking about the gloss, rather than spraying a matte finish and then putting gloss on that and then putting the decals on and whatnot. I thought, yeah, I'll keep the gloss going. Because again, as I say, I wanted to build the paint up to create that surface effect. So that took a while, to say the least. Because as the nights are getting, or the days are getting cooler, it was taking longer for the paint to dry. And then I had a bit of a fiasco with the canopy. The det cord on the kinetic kit canopy is raised detail. Normally, like for example the Airfix Hawk, which is what some of the other guys were building, it's a recessed effect. So all they had to do was basically paint it white, wipe away the excess, and voila, you have your det cord beautifully represented on the canopy. Trying to paint raised clear detail that will be visible from the other side of the clear is, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it was beyond my skills, to say the least. And I made a complete and utter arse of it, basically. So I used Revell's paint cleaner, which is supposed to be utterly benign in terms of removing paint from a model, but it clouded the inside of my canopy. So it was all milky white, which I thought had maybe seeped, far enough into the surface of the canopy that was it. It was beyond rescue. But as it turned out, I was able to polish the inside of the canopy using various grades, and then with, I think it was about 3 dips in clear and aqua gloss, which is, aqua gloss is a bit thicker. That's the Alclad clear varnish. It's a bit more viscous than Johnson's clear. So if you have any small surface scratches or scores, it can actually fill that, and because it's self-leveling, it eradicates them. So I do have what is now actually, in hindsight, the type of transparency that I like. It's not crystal clear, so to me it looks a little bit more realistic with its, what I call its reflective index, or its, no, it wouldn't be its refractive index, wouldn't it? Because the light, you know what I mean. It's the way light passes through it. It looks a little bit more to scale than perhaps, as I say, a crystal, shiny, sparkly canopy would. But as for the det cord, all I did was I got some sandpaper on a curved, it was a brush handle or something, and gently rubbed that over the raised detail, scoring it so that it would diffuse the light, catch the light, so that you could see that there's det cord or something there. I mean, it's still not perfect, but it'll do. Now, the reason, of course, I was having to get this done was for our table display at Telford. And this year, normally we get there, we throw a tablecloth down, stick the kits on it, and voila, that is our table display. So this year we thought, let's put a wee bit, let's not have the dullest table in the whole place. We might not have the snazziest table, but let's at least make a little bit of effort to do something a bit different. Now, one of our club members, Alistair, his daughter Heather is mad crazy nuts into baking. She's only 16 years old, and you want to see some of the things that she can bring out that kitchen. Fantastic. And she is a huge fan of a television show over here, which I don't know if you get this in Europe or in the States or anywhere else in the world. It's called the Great British Bake Off. And it's one of these things that at the start there's like 10 members of the public, and they all go through all these various baking challenges, be it biscuits or cakes or breads or whatever. And as the series goes, they get, those certain ones get eliminated to the very end when you have the baking champion or whatever. So we decided to use that as the basis of our theme, and we called it the Great British Make Off. The door. Excuse me a second.
Yeah. Alright. Very nice, isn't it? Yeah.
That was the post-it with something that I'll come to very soon. I have no idea where I was. What was I talking about? Anyway. Probably some... Oh, the Great British Bake Off, yes. So, the whole point was that... I told you about the show, how the show happens. Yeah, Great British Make Off, that was where it was, wasn't it? It's raining outside, horrible. And we got the gingham checked tablecloth, we've got the bunting and the big thing that says the Great British Make Off, the Snook Model Club presents. And we thought we'd actually have a little bit of fun with it as well. And instead of the aircraft sitting on their normal bases, they're sitting on plates. We each have 3 plates to fill. The small plate at the front was that 1/72nd Airfix Kitty Hawk that we all built as a little group build. I don't know how long ago that was. The back plate was to be our signature dish. I don't know if this is the same format as the show, I'm guessing it probably is. And on that we have our own choice of kit. I chose my Whirlwind because it's one of the few kits that I was actually very happy with. But we're quite enjoying the idea of all building the same thing because we're all in the same boat. The only rule for this one, as I've probably mentioned before, was that it had to be 1/48th scale and a Hawk, a British Aerospace Hawk. Any make, any variant, colour variant, any detail level, whatever you wanted. So that's why I'd chosen the Gos Hawk, which, as I say, it was a struggle. But you know what? I've probably, hopefully, become a better modeller as a result of it. So yeah, we had the Hawks in the middle. We had the cake stands at the back. Cardboard cake stand, 3-tier cake stands that you can get in your local supermarket. They're Christmassy ones. And again, having a bit of fun. It was a play on words. We pun the thing to high heaven and back. Kevin, one of our other club members, he has lots of 1/72nd German subjects, so his tower was called Luftwaffles. And it turns out that the one type of aircraft I have more than any other is Japanese. I have my 3 Zeros, I have that Bob, the Ken, Kawasaki Ken, and the big Repu, the Sam, the orange one. And also, as it turned out, had a 1/72nd Hasegawa A6M2B because I've got the Airfix and the Tamiya. And I thought, right, quickly get that built in time for Telford so that it makes up the stand, because my theme was the land of the self-rising sun. I know it's self-raising flower, but it was a little play on words. Home of the Mitsubishi Biro. Biro is a type of flower, or a make of flower that we have over here in the UK. So I quickly had to get that built in time, and it's something you just won't normally see on my bench, which is a pristine aircraft. I mean, I might weather it, I probably won't, because I literally just threw it together. Being Hasegawa, fortunately, it went together quite well. So I've been doing that. What else? Oh God. So anyway, that was Telford. Sorry. Which was fun. We didn't win anything for our table display, although I did think it was better than some of the other ones that did. Everybody who came past were having a great laugh at this. Alistair has these little egg planes, so he got one, covered it in breadcrumbs and cut it in half. There's a delicacy, but there is a food type up here called a Scotch egg, which is a boiled egg, which is then covered in pork sausage meat and then breadcrumbs, and you can eat it cold. It's a nice little snack. So he did one of these little egg planes, cut it in half and called it a Scotch egg, and painted the yolk and everything, even had the grey going round the outside of the yolk. What else did we have? There was a bowl and spoon with like sprue and glue and varnish, and there was actually a small whiskey in there, which was all the things that go into trying to making a model and all this kind of thing. So we had a bit of fun. It was good. I really enjoyed it. It was a great show. And as for a haul, I mean, normally we're coming back with bags full of kits, because I keep getting given kits. The desire to buy kits is kind of gone, but every now and again you see something. And the signature dish at the back, there was an Albatross, there was my Whirlwind, there was a Mustang, there was various things, and it kind of looked a bit random. So we decided that in time for the Scottish Nationals in April next year, the 2016 show, that we would standardise that a bit, and we would have yet another group build, because as I say, we do enjoy doing that, everybody, as I say, doing the same thing. But this time we thought we'd give the armour builders a go, because that's 2 aircraft we've done, and we've been forcing the armour builders to build aircraft, so it's now the turn of the armour builders to force the aircraft guys to build something from their genre. And it was decided, whereas the Hawk is a nice generic aircraft, 1/35th scale Sherman tank. Again, same rules, it could be any manufacturer, any variant, as long as it's 1/35th and a Sherman. So I've managed to find this one down at Telford, which was great. We decided this on the Saturday night so that we would have all day Sunday to go and look for these things. And a couple of guys got the dragon kits with like 3 sprues of tiny little parts that go to make up the tracks. This has the one-piece moulded tracks, which is fine by me. No interior, fantastic. I could probably have the thing built in a day, and then, well, obviously I want to take time weathering it. But it's the US Marines version. I think it was one of the ones that was served on Iwo Jima, but it's got the wading kit. So it's again, it's a wee bit different. Just it's not a straightforward plain old Sherman tank. Somebody's going to be doing the Sherman tank from Kelly's Heroes. We've got somebody's doing the Firefly. So again, I'll add an interest, but it'll be nice and uniform. Kitty Hawks, Shermans. So that was one of the things I bought at Telford. The other thing was this little beauty. So Williams Brothers, that's the people who made the Codron racer that I did, the blue one, the French one. And it's another racer, except this time it's yellow. And it's the Keith Ryder's R4 Schoenfeld Firecracker. Which, there's a 1939 version and a 1938 version. Which, I think I'll do the 38 version because it has a nicer nose on it. That's what it looks like. That's the picture on the front has a compressed. The perspective makes it look like one of these little chubby racers, but it's not really. It's quite a sleek looking thing. So that was the other thing I bought. Again, typical Williams Brothers. The interior is very, very plain. So like this Codron, I'll scratch build all that and have a bit of fun with that. When I have absolutely no idea, because we have the mosquitoes up next, the big 1/32 Tamiya mosquito, which is the antidote for this thing. And I need an easy build after doing the Gos Hawk, which, you know, it tested me in every regard. So the Tamiya mosquitoes up next. When I was down at Telford, I spoke to the editor of Model Aircraft magazine, which is affiliated with Scale Aviation Modeler International, SAMI, who are now affiliated with the Kitmaker Network, which is who gave me the kit in the first place. So I will be building this kit not only for inclusion on the Kitmaker website or forums, but also for Model Aircraft magazine, which is great, and hopefully this will be the start of a new relationship. So we've got the mosquitoes up next. The Focke-Wulf 190, the 1/32 scale that we got from Revell, has been started. We've got some paint down on things, the inside of the, not much I have to say. We've got some seat belts for it, the HGW seat belts somewhere in here. Oh, they're that. No, it's not them. They're there somewhere. So that's started for Revell, because I actually spoke to the Revell chap who's in charge of all their British operations to keep him informed of the fact that I'm building these for the chap who does all their German operations for inclusion in their Facebook page. The Samba bus, I've started that because I'm going to be doing that in red, and our competition theme night for the December club meet is red. However, that's what, December the 3rd, yeah, and this is November the something, 10th, 11th, what is this, November, I have no idea. Telford was the 8th, this is the 10th. So that doesn't really give me long to build an entire kit in a genre that I'm not terribly used to, but I have made a start. There's the I don't know if you can see that, the chassis, I haven't glued anything, they're just a dry run to see how they go together. And the inner piece has been primed. I also have to build the MiG-29, the Great Wall Hobby MiG-29. I got some paints when I was down at Telford for that, as well as a Hasegawa 1/32 Hasegawa Kawasaki Ki-61. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce this. Is it Hein or Hen or H-I-E-N? The allied name is Tony. But the thing is, I'm going to do the green version of that because I've been dying to do a large scale Japanese aircraft with lots of chipping, but fine chipping. So I'm going to do the green colour variant of that, but it's Kawasaki Green, and the only people who do Kawasaki Green is Goons, but it's their lacquer range, the C prefixed paints. Now the thing is, I mean, some people say green's green. No one's going to be able to point to the plane and say that's not Kawasaki Green. You know, it could be the Imperial Japanese Army Green or one of the other greens that are available that are very, very similar. But I've got one of those apps on my phone that, you know, you Humbrol, Tamiya, Testers, Vallejo, and you if you know the number of that paint, you click it and it gives you all the alternatives. So there's probably something very, very similar. But it just so happens that when I was in Telford and I was speaking to Matthew John, who is the proprietor of Albion Alloys, very, very nice chap, and they have now taken over the distribution of Goons paints in the UK. And I mentioned this to him, and he was telling me that they don't yet have access to the lacquer paints because of an additive or something that's in the paint that you can't get into the EU, something stupid like that. But he said that when they did take over distributorship, that they had a pile or a box of the C paints there, the lacquer paints there, and he said, give me a note of the number, as it says C130, so it's nice and easy to remember because it's a Hercules. And he said he'd have a look, and if it just so happened that he had pot of C130, he would send it to me. Remember the postman? Bearing in mind this was Sunday, and today is Tuesday, one pot C130 Kawasaki Green arrived from Albion Alloys, courtesy of Matthew John, to whom I am very, very grateful. Thank you very much, Matthew. I really do appreciate that. Is what you call service. And lastly, but not leastly, the Spitfire, the PR, the Airfix PR Photo Reconnaissance PR Blue Spitfire is certainly looking a bit more Spitfire-y than probably the last time you saw it. And again, funnily enough, I'm doing this one gloss, because they were gloss, they were high polished finish obviously. Initially the paint was matte because I was using Humbrol enamel. I actually quite enjoy using enamels. I wouldn't balk at, you know, just having just enamel paints, but I then put on many layers of Humbrol enamel clear gloss varnish, and again building it up and creating that gentle sort of imperfect surface finish that isn't rough but has a ripple. It's not orange peel again, as I hasten to add again, but just enough to create that interest in the surface. Also makes putting the decals on. I got a decal sheet, an extra decal sheet, which gave a few I was going to do a Turkish Spitfire which has large red squares, but being British, Spitfires always look nice with a British roundel. American Spitfires look cool as well. In fact, there's an American Spitfire I would like to build, which has a nice bit of backstory, but this was coming along. And this was the group build between me, Andy Firth and Will Patterson. If you're subscribers to them, you'll know all about it. Their Spitfire, the thing was, it was a 1/48th Airfix Spitfire that we had to build. And Andy's has crossed the finishing line, as has Will's. Mine's is still floundering here in the back, but I'm not far off it. Just get the stencils on, the wing lock markings, final couple of coats of the varnish, and then I will go over that with the micro mesh polishing cloth, the 12,000 grade, and just tone down the intensity of the sparkliness of the gloss to achieve that kind of scaled down thickness, scaled down reflective index, as it were. So there we go. That's where I've been, what I've been doing, why I've been doing it, where I've been doing it, and what I'm going to be doing, or something. I mean, everything else is now going to have to, you know, the Heracles, I was building the other one out of box to get an idea of what to do for the super detailed one. That's back on the shelf. The A10's back on the shelf, as in the work in progress shelf as opposed to the bench. And just the Walrus, made a tentative start on this super hobby, the special hobby Super Marine Walrus, which was again for our October club night, club meet build comp night thing, which was amphibian. To be honest, I didn't want to rush that one. It's a short run biplane, so that's going to take a lot of discipline to get that thing to look, and especially at 1/48 as well. So I want my skill set and my mood and frame of mind to be just right for that one. But anyway, I've wasted enough of your time, as it were, so I'm going to enjoy a little bit more of this bad boy here and make a start on something, I suppose. The Focke-Wulf and the Samba bus, I really need to get moving on them, but then I really need to get moving on the Mosquito, and I really need to, oh god. First world problems, for the modeler. Overwhelmed, but in a good way. Cheers, my dears. Toodaloo.